Did you know that there were three leaders that inspired Ibrahim Traore into doing what he's doing today? Three African leaders that are actually his inspiration for doing what he is doing today. The three of them are Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and Muammar Gaddafi. Now, unfortunately for these three people, they were just taken out like that. The West, as always, will come give them a bad name and take them out. Sometimes they don't even give them a bad name, they just take them out. Now, what was Patrice Lumumba's crime? His crime was simply saying that the resources of Congo should be for the Congolese alone. When he took office in 1960, in June 1960, he told the Belgians, who were Congo's colonial masters at the time, that they should hands off the mineral resources that they were exploiting. And he said, these mineral resources belong to my people, the Congolese people, and I intend to use it for the benefit of my people only. Belgium didn't like this, so what did they do? They went to the United States for help, and the United States gave them the CIA. So Belgium and the CIA plotted to take him out, and they succeeded in taking him out. And Belgium so hated this man for even daring to try to stop them from exploiting the resources of the country, that after unaliving him, they dissolved his body in acid. They put his body in acid and dissolved every single part of it so that nobody would ever see even his unalive body at all. The only thing that they kept was his golden tooth. One golden tooth that one of the butchers, who was part of the dismembering of his bullet-ridden body, kept for himself. Now that golden tooth has been returned, to his daughter just recently. Next was Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara is obviously Ibrahim Traore's idol, and he says it all the time that he came to complete what Thomas Sankara had started. He took office through a military coup in 1983, and he lasted for 4 years before they took him out. When he took office, he was so anti-imperialist and pan-Africanist that he immediately changed his country's name from the colonial name of Upper Volta to Burkina Faso. And Burkina Faso means land of upright people. And what was his crime? Same thing that they're accusing Traore of. Sankara's motto was, he who feeds you controls you, and he didn't want any imperialist control. So he told France, who were the colonial masters of Burkina Faso, to get off his land. And he told France, get off my land, I want to be self-sufficient. So he got his people involved into becoming self-sufficient in agriculture. He improved the social welfare of his people. He improved the women's rights for his people. He fought corruption to a standstill, leading from the front. He took only half of his salary and would not use the AC in his presidential office until all his people were comfortable. He said he was going to be sweating like he knew that his people were sweating. He would not be living comfortably while his people were suffering. He sold off all the luxurious cars that the government officials were using in the past and used the cheapest car available at the time, the Renault 04, as a presidential vehicle. He was living like his people. In fact, when they unalived him, the only possession he had was a guitar and a bicycle, because he said he would never live comfortably as a president while his people were suffering. But again, France didn't like the fact that he was becoming independent, both economically and socially. France wanted to control everything, and he didn't want them. In fact, he often attacked France publicly, condemning them for all the bad things that they were doing in the continent and telling them to hands off Africa. On one occasion, he was actually doing this right in front of the French Prime Minister, Mitterrand. He was telling him to his face that you guys are evil, you guys should leave Africa alone. He was saying it to the man's face. And of course, they didn't like that. So they plotted and they took him out. And finally, Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi also took office through a military coup in 1969. He was assassinated in October 2011. Now, what was his crime? His crime was making sure that his people had free healthcare, free education, free housing, interest-free loans, free everything. But what got the West really pissed was when he began to move for one borderless Africa that would have one central bank, one currency that will be backed up by gold. The West, particularly America, saw this move as a threat to their US dollar. And what did they do? They penciled them out for elimination. Africans having one currency backed by gold, trading amongst themselves with whatever currency that will be without using the dollar, was what they wouldn't take. They would not accept this. And again, they plotted, gave him a bad name. They called him a dictator, an abuser of human rights, and moved in and he was taken out. But today, times are different, thankfully. Because now that we have Ibrahim Traore, who now says, get off my country, I want to use my gold for my people. And he's actually using that gold to develop his people. The West have come again to say that he's using the gold for himself. But this time around, thanks to social media, thanks to the internet, the people have said, no, enough is enough. Hands off Burkina Faso. Hands off Ibrahim Traore. We thank God for these times. Africa shall surely rise. For this is the beginning of the revolution. Once Ibrahim Traore gets it right, trust me, other leaders will follow. Once Ibrahim Traore succeeds, other leaders will see that this is possible. We will have more leaders like Ibrahim Traore in the future. Africa will surely rise.